was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Following the release of leaked images and video footage of Donald Trump, which are quite troubling to say the least, Trump continues to terrify the American people about his obvious cognitive and physical decline. And now there's not only increased scrutiny on Trump's health, but there's an active demand triggered by Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota for Trump to release the MRI results of his recent MRI screening. And when Trump was confronted about this on Air Force One, his answers made it so much worse. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have a lot to unpack regarding the ongoing scandal of Trump's failing mental and physical health, but we're going to jump into when he was confronted about this by reporters on Air Force One.
When they asked about my MRI, MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI.
Can you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Walz, you mean the incompetent governor? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What was the reason they
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it or if you want to release it, you want to have it released.
Yes,
News Nation, failing News Nation. News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Tell us what they were looking at.
For what releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So he was so triggered by that, he literally just ended the de facto presser, hurled insults at reporters asking respectful but reasonable questions. He's obviously defensive about this. He's triggered. He's visibly defensive about the fact that the vast majority of Americans think that not only is he stupid, but that he's in a state of rapid cognitive and physical decline. So a couple of things. The cognitive test that he brags about is, based on all reports, a test designed to detect dementia and Alzheimer's. It's not an IQ test. Trump would no doubt fail an IQ test. He would perform average or under average. So he has nothing to boast about. Number one, so there's that. But number two, we don't know if what the results of that test are, because there's no federal law which requires Trump's physicians to tell the American people that he has dementia or Alzheimer's. Number three, again, there's this hilarious quote from Saturday Night Live just a couple of months ago about this, where they were like, the guy who impersonates Donald Trump says, I took a cognitive test and I did so well that they immediately asked me to take an MRI, right? These two things in conjunction are not very encouraging. Number four, the fact that he doesn't know what specific part of his body was being examined by the NRI is also really, really troubling. So again, there's so much to go on here, but let's look at the additional reporting surrounding this. Trump says that he'll release MRI results after Walz's comments on his health, and put a pin in this. Trump says a lot of things. I'll release my tax returns. Fine, I'll release my tax returns. I'll release my medical records, and then he never does. So we have no reason to believe him here, but let's continue. Trump has faced scrutiny over his health this year, and leading Democratic figures have called on him to release his MRI test results. Leading the charge is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, with whom Trump has traded barbs in recent months. We'll get to Governor Walz in just a second. He says, it's okay for me to release it. Let's go. State of play. Trump has faced speculation about his health this year after images of bruising on his hands emerged and a July diagnosis of chronic venous insufficiency, a common condition whereby veins in the legs are damaged. However, an October medical report declared him to be in exceptional health. But again, President Biden's physician said the same thing, and that wasn't sufficient for MAGA, or indeed most of the country. So we got to hold Trump to the same standard. That report on his second trip to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center since retaking office didn't mention the MRI scan, but it did say he received advanced imaging. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said earlier this month that it was, quote, part of his routine physical examination, except again, they said, well, it's just an annual exam. Except he'd already gotten his annual exam in April, so he had 2 exams in the same year, and who knows if he'll have a third before the end of the year. So again, it seems like a White House cover-up. All right, and Trump is actively making it worse with his terrible answers and his defensiveness. So Governor Walz said this in response to Donald Trump posting his Thanksgiving message, in which he called Governor Walz, quote, seriously retarded. a slur which has backfired on Trump, which we discussed in a separate video. It's pissed off a lot of Republicans. Governor Walz responded to this saying, release the MRI results. And then he was asked about this on Meet the Press. So let's hear what the governor has to say.
Well, here we got a guy on Thanksgiving where we spent time with our families. We ate, we played Yahtzee, we cheered for football or whatever. This guy is apparently in a room ranting about everything else. This is not normal behavior. It is not healthy. And presidents throughout time have released a couple things. They've released their tax returns, not Donald Trump, and they've released their medical records, not Donald Trump. And look, the MRI is one thing, but I think what's most concerning about this is, as your viewers out there are listening, has anyone in the history of the world ever have an MRI assigned to them and have no idea what it was for, as he says? So look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting, crazily at midnight on Thanksgiving about everything else, there's reasons for us to be concerned. This is a guy that randomly says the airspace over Venezuela is closed. He's ruminating on if you could win a nuclear war. Look, this is a serious position. It's the most powerful position in the world. And we have someone at midnight throwing around slurs that demonize our children. And at the same time, he's not solving any of the problems. So I'm deeply concerned that he is incapable of doing the job.
And most Americans believe that too. Again, the polling on this is quite atrocious. A supermajority, in fact, say that Donald Trump's age is affecting his ability to do the job. So there's all of that, okay? And then, as I mentioned in the intro, some unflattering images and videotapes have been, or video footage, I should say, of Trump have been released in the past week. As Tim Miller of The Bulwark points out, a listener passes along this photo of our president enjoying his meal at his golf club earlier today, Maha. Here's Donald Trump at a table labeled for him. I'm not sure if that's for his benefit or the benefit of those around him, probably for him. Like, here, sir, this is your table, sir. You can go ahead and sit down, sir. And then a close-up image, not looking good. His eyes are closed. He's hunched over. His mouth is drooping open. Not good, folks. This is a terrible image and also provoking serious questions about Trump's health. This footage of Trump at the White House, the presidential gallery, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, near his, not only near in the White House and not just near the East Wing ballroom, but he's giving a tour to this child. And I want you to notice how Trump walks. It's very alarming. People have noticed for some time that he's been dragging his leg and trying to compensate for it. You also have the fact that he's walking. Trump is famously a teetotaler. He doesn't drink, but he's walking like a drunk person. As somebody who's partied quite a bit and been on bar crawls and pub crawls, I know that walk. I've seen that walk. I've probably done that walk, right? I mean, he's staggering around, but not under the influence as far as we know. Again, a teetotaler. Midday. He can't walk properly. And so this is just making questions and scrutiny about his health that much worse. Trump also, unfortunately, like President Biden, again, was in a state of age-related cognitive decline, but Biden had the benefit of being not an authoritarian, not a malignant narcissist, and not an idiot. Trump is all of those things. He is an idiot. He is a malignant narcissist. And so his base level of functionality is lower than Biden's. He's dumber than Biden. He's got other personality deficits that are manifestly dangerous, which Biden didn't, and Trump is in a state of age-related cognitive decline. He's the oldest person to assume the presidency. If he leaves office at the end of his second constitutional term, he will have been older than Biden. He will leave office older than Biden. So this is not very good news. Will he release the MRI results? I would be surprised if he did, given his long history of not releasing medical and economic financial disclosures, things of that nature, even when that is the tradition and even when he swears that he will. He's an inveterate liar. But, folks, this is actively getting worse. And the fact that he's so defensive about this, that he's running away from reporters after lashing out at them, also doesn't bode well. It betrays an insecurity that he has something to hide. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.